everybody, today in our Make It Fit moment we're going to be looking at the downward dog pose. This can be tricky for a lot of people and it's also a really great thing for you to be able to see yourself doing. So I wanted to make this video, that way you can watch this at home and then hopefully look at yourself in the mirror and be able to get that visual cueing going for yourself. So the first thing we want to look at is alignment and length of your downward dog. So if you want to go ahead and come into all fours, you want your wrists to be directly below your shoulders here. Then you're going to extend back into plank. So extending those legs back, belly button into the spine, into your plank. So your downward dog should really just be a shift from your upper body towards your lower body, lifting those hips up nice and high. If you need to take a small step in with the feet, you can do that, but just make sure it's not a very big step. And the way you can check yourself is to shift forward back into plank. And if you're way in front of see my shoulders a little too far in front of my wrists and I can actually feel a little unstable, then you know that maybe your downward dog is a little too narrow. So an extreme version of this be here. So for me, I can tell this feels narrow, but I can check by shifting forward. If I shifted all the way forward, my shoulders would be way in front of my wrists. So another reason that we do that is to keep the back nice and flat. Want to work on releasing tension in the back, and actually starting that in the neck is probably the best way to do that. So if you're in your downward dog, release tension in your neck, just kind of shake it out a little bit, and that'll hopefully release a little tension in the back and take you from what we often see here, see the rounding in the back, to a nice flat lift. The other thing that would help with that is contracting the quads, reaching the rib cage toward the thighs to get that weight shifted backwards. Often, if we are rounded in the back, it means our weight is too far forward in our hands. So that's one thing to look at. Also, your points of contraction. So I already mentioned the quads. You want to squeeze those quads. It's going to help straighten the legs a little bit and also help you engage the legs. So when you're shifting your weight from the front of the body to the back of the body, that those quads are helping out there. The other thing you want to think about is your forearms, contracting your forearms, which sounds weird, but if you take your pointer finger and your thumb and grip those down into the ground a little bit, so your fingers spread nice and wide, and you kind of squeeze those into the ground, it feels like the arch of a foot, like you're making an arch of a foot with your hand, and you'll feel your forearms engaged that way, so that's a good way to think about that. And then also your abdominals, not so much like pressing the abs out, but the deep, deep horizontal layer, trying to pull it all in nice and flat. So when I think about those three things when we're in a downward dog. Your modifications, you can either, if you have wrist issues or anything like that, if it hurts to be up in this position, then you can always come down to your elbows, clasping your hands. Again, if you can start forward in plank, and then shift back, and this one you might step it in just a little bit. And that's actually dolphin pose, but it's a good modification for downward dog. Also, if this is a little too much for the hamstrings, instead of stepping it in so you can get your heels to the ground, you're actually just going to bend your knees slightly. So that's another modification for you. The heels getting down to the ground is a lot of people's primary worry. Don't worry about it, it'll come. Just focus on relaxing that part and reaching in your mind heels towards the ground, and then eventually your body will match that. So a little exercise to help you ingrain these habits in your body is actually to transition from downward dog to plank, downward dog to plank, and your modification for that, we have one as well. So if this feels like a little much for you right now, or you need to warm up with something else, you can go actually from child's pose, get a little smoother here, from knee plank to child's pose, knee plank to child's pose, and then you can go from there, knee plank to downward dog, drop the knees down, plank, downward dog, and then eventually exhaling to downward dog, plank, inhaling, downward dog, exhale, plank, inward, inhale, downward dog. Mixing up my words a little bit there. But what this allows you to do It's transition back and forth from downward dog into plank, and really work on both of those postures in trying to reach proper form each time with each posture without having to stay there too often long. Then exhale and inhale. Holding that last one, go ahead and lower the knees, pull the elbows into the sides, and lower down in one piece. Excellent. So that's a little challenge you can try for yourself. You can get up to as many reps as you feel good about. I'm really just trying to build some fire there, build some heat in the belly. So let me know if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to answer those. And make it fit, guys. Have a great holiday season.